to, I sent Judge J.P. Allen the information as well, and Deborah Bonnet, the Assistant Attorney General. I attended the meeting on Tuesday. Commissioner Barber was not there because of a medical issue. We're gonna be discussing some of that, so we're trying to get the money back, but we'll see. I don't know, obviously there was an error of some type. I don't know the particulars. He hasn't really communicated that, so I'm trying to get at, okay, what actually went on here. So, it's still in limbo a little bit on that.
But we initially approved Coffin doing this work. They did not do the work, and now we're coming back and asking that the road crew be
Yes, sir.
funded to do it.
Yes, sir.
By the way, Carl, you said Deborah Vaughn is Assistant Attorney General, she's actually Assistant District Attorney.
Did I say Attorney General? Okay, a district, excuse me, my bad. Assistant DA, you're right, Assistant DA. Lots of titles. Okay, so as you know, on here, the volunteer team has, it is comprised of various people. They've done 2 days of road work, using the town's funds and all the volunteer help. So they've been phenomenal, and actually have had some good feedback that they do a better job sometimes than the county, so, but.
So back to the Coffin, is the expectation we're gonna get some or all of this money back, or you don't know?
I don't know, it's kind of the big question mark. All I know is their auditor said this, and it's not correct, and so I'm not making accusations, I'm just saying it's just not accurate. So I don't know the whole picture, and so I'm just trying to figure that out with them.
Well, or at least put it back on account that we could use it for some other.
Right, now Commissioner Barber sent an Excel spreadsheet that he spent most of it on 249, but then also on 323. 323 wasn't on the project sheet, so I don't understand that. So if he spent most, and Aaron Conway 2 years prior has always been very spot on. Anything he gave us an estimate for was spot on, so when they say they spent all $3,280 on just 2 roads, one of which was not on our project sheet, I don't understand that.
So what is $3,000, I guess Kevin would know, is it 2 loads or 1 load, or what is, how much asphalt?
Is it okay to speak? It's about 20. See, that'd be 4 5-ton trailers, so 20 tons.
20 tons.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That'll do some roads, get us through hopefully, for a while, so. Cause the hard part is scheduling everybody. And then so getting the asphalt ready, cause the Terrell plant was shut down I don't know if it's still shut down.
It's
but
open again.
It's open again, so that was we had to go all these Sunnyvale to get it, and it's been kind of a real, dance to try and get all those pieces together, so, thankful to all those who are helping with that, so.
Citizen.
Okay, Dale Bryant,
I'll pass.
Glenn Strauss, David Emmert.
Pass.
Okay. All right, that's all our citizen sign up for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Jaffe, second by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Item number 2, discuss changing CR road names to include names of poets and survey for such. So this was a couple citizens' request, over a year ago. So one suggested that we name, since our name is poetry, that we name our roads after poets. And then another one, I think Betty Ballard suggested that we go back to League Line Road the way it was before the 911 system was in place, because the old timers said that's a really important name to them. So it wasn't kind of an issue until we're gonna have to be buying like at least 20 new signs. So I thought before we do that, then let's just take a survey, see what, I don't have an opinion either way really. Let's just take a survey and see what the citizens want. We do have surveys tonight, so I thought we'd just do it for a good month and then see what we come back with. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on it, but just kind of see what the will of the people is and just go from there. I've only got like 16 surveys, so that's not really even sufficient number. So,
Just out of curiosity, Tara, so at the beginning of this proposed survey, it says it was said when a tornado struck the town. Who said that?
That was in some of the history, so we have the historical sketch, and then I have, the book.
Okay, because I went
Yeah.
back through Margaret's, I was kind of shaking my head, because I've been here a long time, and I've never heard that from any of the old timers, so I was just kind of curious. I mean, in fact, Margaret says in her book, here's kind of 3 scenarios, but
Yeah.
nobody has any idea which one is correct.
Right, in the historical sketch, I believe it was, we had it read, I think, do you remember reading some of that? And that was, I believe it was in that, it was in a sketch, historical sketch, yeah.
There is some debate about where the name poetry came from.
Well, there is in general, but I just had never heard about tornadoes. In fact, we have someone in the town that was in that school the night of the tornado that I spoke to the other night. He said they weren't reading anything to him.
Maybe it was afterward during the school, I don't know, but it is in the historical sketch, and so.
Okay.
That's an interesting tidbit there, but kind of off. All right.
I've received lots of emails and texts, I don't know if y'all have, but, the main concern of the citizens is having to change all their personal,
The
the disruption of their life. Amy lost her driver's license, she had to get on a schedule to get a driver's license 2 months.
Oh,
So
my.
now we're gonna ask how many residents we have in the city, a 2-month wait to get your driver's license. That's your Amazon, all your stuff that's saved, because we save everything on the computers now, all that has to be changed. So hearing the citizens, and I to agree, I don't wanna change all my.
Well, I worry about the lag in updating 911, so if
That's a
they
huge
dispatch a fire
concern.
truck or an ambulance or something, it's gonna be some named road that's not in the system yet, because they didn't push out the update, and I mean, everybody knows these numbers and these names that are out here now, because they've settled into all the systems. Right, there's no update. And by the way, I would rather name them after tractor parts than poets. If we wanna keep it country, it needs to be named after, towns.
Now,
and
there's an
ordinances.
opinion I haven't heard yet. Two items of feedback on this. Again, I have no opinion, I really don't, either way. But one feedback was, if people did have to redo their addresses, then they could go ahead and put Poetry, Texas, and that might help us get more funding for sales and use tax. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was one kind of positive to that. If you had to redo your addresses, then you put Poetry, Texas instead of Terrell, Texas, like most of them are. The other was, I think the feedback I'm getting on these is they like the lead line road idea, but maybe not the poet idea as much. There are a few that are for the poet idea, but,
None of the emails I've received are for changing anything. And
No, that's right,
I agree with them.
if you have emails, please print them off, and then we'll add it to our little survey, so we kinda at least have this, that we took a survey, it had somebody added to it. So please do fill out a survey. If you have an opinion, we're open to that. Again, I have no preference, actually.
Well, I guess I would say, I think legally it's causes a lot of problems for legal documents, not just driver's license, but passports, everything. So birth certificates, everything.
So-
Why not just keep it simple, right? And I only got feedback that was against it personally, so.
So I did talk to 911, and they said, because I asked them, I said, would it be better to do, like, say, if we're gonna change CR 249 to CR 249/lead line, would it be better to have it combined like that, or one or the other? And they said, no, one is better. That was 911. So, what do I know?
Yeah, we have enough necessary things that we have to do that people don't like. I wouldn't put one that's unnecessary.
So again, this was, just something before there are a number of signs that do need to be replaced, so I thought before we invest in that, we just kinda need to solve this issue. So Dale Bryant,
Pass.
okay, Glenn Strauss, Scott Leahy, is that correct, Scott Leahy?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Scott Leahy, County Road 2426. I would just like to echo what I think everybody said, the 911 disruption, the legal document disruption, the Amazon online account disruption. I do not think this is core to the operation of the town, and I do not think we should move forward on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Rachel, I don't know how to pronounce it. Fossler?
Yeah.
Okay, Fossler. Go ahead.
I say what my address is.
No.
Just general,
Okay,
like.
alright, I just wanted to say that, my son has an anaphylactic allergy, and so we already have trouble getting his medication when we put poetry, so we had to put Terrell still. And so that plus the 911 is just something that's really concerning to me. And I think with a lot of retired people in the community, they probably have the same concerns of if they need an ambulance or medications is a really big one for us, so.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's an important point, thank you. Okay, so. Is this dead on arrival?
I'm
I
three.
think so.
No,
Let
we
me
don't.
check.
Yeah,
I mean, do we even wanna continue with the survey?
Why, are we just gonna hand it out in the room, or are we gonna mail it out?
well, it's actually over here, I think we can come back, I mean, next month will be the time and we'll get the signs approved, so we can still say how many total, so that those people who are for it will feel at least validated, so.
Well, we're not gonna spend money on it, right? We can just put it on the website as a pop-up or something if you wanna weigh in and.
Yeah, it's,
Or on the
got-
newsletter?
yeah, I think it's, well, it may not be on the
It's
pop-up,
not
yeah, we
wasting
can
any
do it.
postage or anything.
No, it can be a pop-up,
Kind of an
and
informal
then we
one.
have it here tonight, so if you feel one way or another, please do fill those out, and then we have done our due diligence and found out what the people. Alright, we'll just move on then. Number 3, discuss and take action on a street dynamic solar-powered speed and communication device for roadways to collect data desired for grant applications for roadwork according to price sheets provided. So I did talk with Stephen Barlag, who was the fellow that was here presenting a few meetings ago. He said there is no capability for video. That was a question that came up. He said there is no capability for video on that, on this device. So, and then I think someone else was finding out that you had some other information, didn't
Well,
you?
you tried to find alternatives. I think.
Yeah, I sent y'all, sent you a letter that you had the secretary send out, that basically, this is the only option that I think meets our sign criteria and our funding. You can get traffic, devices that will gather data, but that's not a sign, so I'm not sure we could pay for it. And you could add signs to it, but that's an option. And there are radar signs that give you the speed, but they don't gather traffic data. And I guess a side note, a lot of those companies aren't in America. This one's at least American based and local to Texas.
So for those who maybe aren't aware of the sign we're looking at is so that we can get data, that will help us in grants. And I did talk further with Alan. He said that there are between 1 and 4 grants in any given year. In a year where there's a lot of, weather events or disaster events, it can go up to 7 or 8. So, it's not just for this one that he might be looking into us for poetry. It would allow us data for not only this year, but, and he said it's really better to have data for a year, not just a few months. But he said if you get it, then we'll include at least a month of data for this one that he's currently working on, but then it rolls around. And they all have different parameters, and so, as he so eloquently put before. And I think one other thing, I think Simeon, was it you that said that the research on the, instead of putting the speed, was it you told me, instead of putting the speed limit, where people just wanna break the speed limit, that if they put a smiley face for those who are going the speed limit, and then if they go above the speed limit, so maybe, I'm thinking of Poetry Road 249, so if you get a smiley face until you go past 40 or something, and then it gives you a frown. And people, that actually detoured people more than anything else, is what the research was showing.
I never got a gold star when I was
And
growing up.
meanwhile, to provide us information on, the size of the vehicles, how fast they're going, whether they're passing through, if we have one on each end. So it could give significant data that would help us in some of these, state grants that we're looking at, maybe in federal grants.
Well, I don't drive 249, I avoid it for a reason. So I'd be interested in hearing from the citizens what they think, because
Okay.
to me, that's, if we're gonna put it anywhere, it would be there so that we can see what the flow through traffic is and what the speeds are and get it calmed down on the citizens that live on that road, because that's what I hear from them, but I'd really like to hear it again.
Okay. we have 3 citizens who've signed up. Dell Bryant, okay, Glenn Strauss.
Glenn Strauss, 072 County Road 2454, and I live city block off of Poetry Road. And in my opinion, it should be a farm to market road, because it gets an enormous amount of traffic. It is one of the main cut throughs from 29, 30, and then on south of there, so.
Thank you, Glenn. Scott Leahy.
Scott Lakey, County Road 2426. All I have to say is to encourage, I'm a little ignorant on the dollars and cents of this topic. Obviously, we can get a grant. How much is that? What are the odds of getting it versus how much is it gonna cost to have this device, to whatever device was chosen to collect the data for a year? There's a cost analysis that ought to be done on that, and weighed in on that. What are the odds of receiving a grant? Before the money is spent, we ought to have a fair idea that we are gonna get something on the back end of that for it, so, thank you.
Okay, good point, Scott. We have discussed at length, this is like the 3rd time it's been on our agenda. So the grant that Alan Donnan is working on now is 1.2 million. So the cost on this machine without the, I guess without the relay is $3,200 per each. So if you had one on each end of the road, then it would give us the data of who is passing through versus who is not. So, it does have a good, return on investment, I think. And then we did research whether the TML insurance would cover this device. At first we said yes, and they said, well, send us a picture. So I sent them a picture, and they said, oh yeah, it'd be $5 a year upcharge. I'm like, well, okay. So,
I guess I had a question. I'm sorry, I don't remember. What was the grant to do? What was it?
well, he was going for the Gusto. He was trying to get every road in Poetry redone, refurbished, but
Refurbished road.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, so one of the things he said, Tom, that I remembered was that we could redo every road in Poetry for $1.5 million, which I took exception with. I mean, I don't think that would redo one long stretch of road, let alone every road.
Well, I guess I would agree, it might put asphalt on it, but most of the roads need some subsurface work. And that would be more expensive.
I was surprised to hear him say that as well. I think an engineer would have to tell us that, I think.
Well, I'm not picking on him, I think the number would be, tens of millions. I don't think it's gonna be a million. I don't think
Well,
$1 million
I
would
do
go very
know-
far.
I do know we have, a preliminary quote I got was, for half a mile, $100,000 or something, $150,000.
And is that to grind it up and resurface
To
it?
do it all, but again, we'll need the engineer. And of course, 2.5 years ago, Kaufman County, Aaron Conway told me, this is before, all the petroleum issues and, that it was $75,000 to do a double chip seal with a concrete base, but $75,000 per mile, but it's not that anymore. So that was almost 3 years ago, so
With a concrete base?
with a concrete crushed base, so
Yeah.
concrete crushed base with a double, chip seal. So I think that's where we need our engineer to kind of tell us, and then getting some different, quotes, but we can talk about that later. We're gonna have that on a future agenda.
Well, I would go back to what Scott said, and it's a concern I share, is just, what I heard the gentleman say when he was talking about the grants, one of the things he said, and then he sort of tried to explain it a little better, was that one of the requirements of the grant was that the town be levying a property tax. And we don't levy a property tax, and I'm just imagining that the way the state might view it is, listen, you need to be making a reasonable effort to get money to take care of your town. We're not gonna just give you free money, and I'm making that up, and I'm just imagining that could be a scenario. And so it's back to, what are the odds? I mean, I like the gadget's cool, but I think to connect it to, and we're gonna get money, I think it's a little bit of I don't think it's a certain, outcome that we're gonna get the money. I think it's a
Well,
good thing, we need to get into the process and start doing this, and we should be applying like every year Cause eventually we will, get a winning ticket, but
Yeah, we'll get a ring ticket. So on that, so I agree with you, on this particular one, we may not. But again, there's like up to 4 in a regular year, up to 7 or 8 in a tragic weather event year. But then also additionally, just recently, I sent a couple of you, 'cause I can only send 2, right? After talking with the mayor of Scurry and the city administrator there, they've been able in 10 years to redo all of their roads in Scurry. So I was like, how did you do that? And so they sent me the block grant information, and so that's another one that is possibly available. So, just because maybe this one isn't, in the mix necessarily, there's many others, so I think.
Well, I don't
Do
disagree. We just-
they have some kind of traffic recorded device, or they just apply for grants? Is there a correlation between the two?
I asked the mayor, so I was talking to the city administrator, she wasn't sure of all the particulars, cause I was like, hey, I wanna plug you for information. And the mayor, was real busy, and I didn't get to talk with him a second time to ask some of these particulars, but I am in the process of trying to get more information on that.
What was the guy's name that presented the stalker stuff to us?
Stephen Barlag.
So one of the concerns of the citizens last time was, maybe the lack of control of the data that it collects and where it goes. Did anybody follow up with him on that? Cause I think it was tabled maybe by you for contract purposes, and I think that was the contract.
Yeah, I wanted to do research, see if there was other options, that was the only thing I wanted.
I think it was researching contracts, if I remember right, because one of the citizens, I guess, had read online something we didn't have in front of us.
So in talking with Stephen further, I said there was that concern, and he said, well, just do where it's on the unit itself, where it's not spread via internet, and then you're more protected actually, so.
And then they're gonna guarantee the guardianship of that data at that point?
Well, it's
It's not connected
It's
to
not
the internet,
connected to the
which is
internet.
something we discussed anyways, cause it's an extra fee to do it online, as opposed to just driving up and doing it manually with a USB.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the contract too, just make sure, or the price, but who's gonna do the work? How long is it gonna sit, where it's gonna sit? Who's gonna retrieve the data, push the data to the vendor, all that? What's that look like? Cause if you have a product, if you don't have the mechanism to use it, so what's that look
Well,
like?
he did say, this last time I talked with him, he said he would come out and train somebody, that he would help us set it up, he would do all that.
So we can get a
Well, that's
volunteer.
nice.
Yeah, I thought that was good, so maybe we have a couple council members who are trained in that, but to put a USB in, I don't know, like if you wanna gather it after a month, or maybe after a few months,
No, I'm just,
Yes, ma'am.
on your agenda for the 15th of February is when we discussed all this, so if you wanted to refer back to that, you should have it in your packet in front of you.
The minutes?
Yes, under, it looks like it was agenda item 1, after the 5-minute recess, and then after that, Mr. Don spoke about it as well.
we've been here before.
Just to refresh everybody's memory.
So, Terry, were you, not to put words in your mouth, but were you headed in the direction of you'd like to see more of a plan?
Well, I just
Or
wanna-
what would calm you?
I don't know calm, but, I don't know, I'm just trying to put all the pieces together because I need to read this, but I mean, that was one of the concerns, but for some reason, I thought that someone said, yeah, we need to check on that, because that's a big concern in today's time is guardianship of that information. If council's quite certain that the physical, guardianship and not being web-based is adequate, well, then that kinda answers that question.
It'll be better than your iPhone. I'll tell you that.
And again, if I may, sorry, if we did it without it being web-based, it was cheaper, we didn't have to pay for the subscription, then we would physically go to the machine and collect the data, then it's never on the internet, so it's proprietary to us only. so nobody else then would have access to it.
Yeah, so the next to last bullet point, council requested more information from Street Dynamics such as a reference, a sample contract with the terms, and to research other options. So the research of other options, but the sample contract, I think was, and maybe I was misspeaking earlier, maybe it was a contract issue that the citizen spoke about. And I didn't go look for it because I don't know, for some reason I thought someone said, yeah, we'll just get a contract from them and look at it, but.
He gave a big package of information, I
got it.
guess, did you see any sample contract in that?
No, and I think the citizen who spoke on it said it was online. Where they were online.
Did you see a contract that you, thought was feasible?
Technology contracts are not my forte, I'll tell you that.
What if we, approved pending our attorney looking over the contract?
Yeah, I mean, that still doesn't give me heartburn. Is everybody comfortable with the quote? We understand what we're getting? I mean, is this pedestal mount?
There's no mounts.
Okay, so it's the bracket that he talked
It's the
about.
bracket.
They can be mounted on different style posts.
Yes, that's what I understand it to be.
And that was one of the concerns I know we could get past, like, are we gonna do a breakaway sign, or are we just gonna use a county road sign?
He's mentioned putting it on, electric pole, and depending on which county it is, I can contact, and we've done that before, contact them, and they have allowed us to put things on poles. Or come up with our own, metal pole.
Yeah, I think before we go there, Terry, my question to the group would be just whether this is something we wanna get involved in right now, and is it a priority for the town? I don't know. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but compared to 20 tons of asphalt to fixing roads and other things.
What's our current status on our sales and use tax account for roads?
It's right at close, it's $88,000 right now.
So if I read that right, that's what we've received since inception is 88,000. So all these other funds we've been buying the rock and stuff with, the donations, we hadn't spent any money out of our road?
We had money, for, potholes that was a little bit separate from that. So and I would have to look, we can look at, the Q2 is coming up, so.
And to Mike's point, I think my biggest concern is yes, we do have a new elected county commissioner coming. I mean, should we be kind of storing up right now, maybe look at this we got a new budget coming pretty soon, so we can dump some real money on 249, because to the people that are calling Blake and me as well are really concerned, and I think it's gonna take a lot of material. We pay for material, right? They provide labor and equipment.
In Hunt County?
Kaufman County.
Well, Kaufman County's contract a little different, but that's a little bit off.
Well, just to prepare for how much we may have to spend to get that road back in a decent.
Well, again, I think the engineer would have to give us, but again, that's not the topic at hand. Okay, I mean, I get where you're going, but.
I mean, I gotta kind of know where I'm spending the money from.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like, if we get to the point where we're not an engineer, be able to ask them, is this a useful tool for us, period?
Well, and we're kind of putting something ahead of them that they may say, I wish you had bought that.
Yeah, because they may have a way of doing that, since they're our engineer. I don't know if they do surveys like that or not, and what would they charge for it? You can't really ask.
I haven't seen anything from the engineer that led me to believe that they had anything like this.
Well, but I guess the overall view or opinion of the engineer would be useful, because they deal with things like this for other counties, so they may be able to say, look, such and such county handled it this way, which may be a better or different option. So I guess I do agree with Jonathan, is we hired an engineer, why don't we ask your opinion?
And if we can follow up with Scurry too, to find out, maybe they didn't need another application to get those, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think.
To get the grant, he said that they had to match $12,500, and then they were able to get like $100,000.
We do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so that sounded
I'll
really
look for that.
good, the return on that one sounded really good. So if you are you wanting to maybe consult with the engineering firm on this? Is that what you're thinking?
I would
prudent to me.
I would like to ask them if we get that done, because I don't wanna buy something that's gonna sit over the corner over here.
Okay. And they deal with a lot of different counties
Yeah.
or cities, so they should have a better view of what works, what doesn't work. And it would be worth, I think, shouldn't be cost much money just to get their opinion. They don't have to do an engineering analysis, just give their opinion.
Yeah. And I know they've done that because they give us a nice printout of where they evaluated roads, so they,
Oh, yeah,
I would think they would have knowledge of it.
yeah. A
So-
lot more than us.
One point, is that if we own the equipment, then there would just be a warranty on it, maybe not necessarily a contract. I don't know.
Well,
But I know
I'm
that
not
our
against it, but
council is very prudent with finances, which is
I would rather
good.
wait.
But if
Yeah,
you wanna
I'm in
wait
favor
and
of
get
waiting.
more information from,
Yeah, I think the engineers should be a good place, and then if you don't mind following up with Scurry and just see
Sure.
if they had something else that supported their request for
Sure.
grants.
And, get a good contract to Attorney Berman and have him go over
A
it.
sample
if
contract.
they, or warranty, whatever it is they
Whatever.
have,
Yeah.
okay, let me make myself a note.
It's a wise investment eventually, but yeah, no rush.
Well,
The only
maybe it's-
contract they have online is for the customer service agreement if you choose to have EMS. That's the only thing.
The only one.
Well, it may be more like T's and C's, terms and conditions or something,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Warranty,
whatever.
Do we need to put a cage on the USB, something locked or something? Alright, well, moving on to number 4 then, discuss and take action on professional engineering service agreement with Burkhoff, Hendricks and Carter LLP, Hendricks Engineering.
Did we have citizen input on the,
We already,
on the signs?
oh, I thought we already,
Did we talk about this?
That was the name change.
oh, I apologize. Okay, Del Bryant, did you wanna,
Pass.
okay, Glenn Strauss, Scott Leahy.
Are we still on number 3?
We are on number 3.
I already commented.
I thought he already did. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
sorry.
I'm like, I thought we did. Okay. Alright, so
That was right, he did.
going on to, yeah, so we have, this engineering professional, now we approved this firm for the RFQ, now they have the professional engineering services agreement, and so if the council approves that, then we can sign off on it, and then they have also the cost here. So they have on the very amendments, they show their liability, they have up to $3 million per incident, they give the scope of services, what their work is, they do surveying, they do, mapping, they do engineering reports for roads. They did give a pro bono for the dead tree issues, so they gave a report on that, but we'll talk about that next month. But that was kinda nice that they were willing to do that pro bono. I did see their mileage, is 68, well, it's IRS established rate, which currently is 68 cents per mile, I don't know how far they are. So their rates, are actually more than our attorney on some of them. But the RPLS rate registered, it's $300 an hour. The survey crew is $195 an hour. They do have an engineering intern that's $95 an hour. And then it's based, their wages are based upon the years they've been in the experience, which I guess that's.
So, Tara, did this contract, or did this come from them and then we approved, okay,
Berman did approve it.
okay.
He said there's a few little things that he would do differently, but he said it's perfectly fine.
Can you tell us what things he was,
He did not specify.
Well, I guess the one point I would, they refer, the very first paragraph says here and referred to as engineer, actually it should be engineer or quote consultant, because they refer to consultant and it's not defined.
Okay. The only other addition, or the thing that I thought would be good to change on here was when they email the mayor, Tara, I think they should also email secretary at poetrytext.org. That's just a slight little amendment, so that she has a copy of that as well. But other than that, it looked pretty straightforward.
I don't see his name on here. They gave us certificate of interested parties. I spoke to Justin the other day, and you might have spoke to him.
Justin Ivy.
And he's not on here, but, while I had him on the phone talking about the tree, I asked him, I said, how does this work? You know, who gets assigned the work? And he said they kind of have an internal system that would specify if it's something that's low hanging fruit, they're gonna give it to the EIT1, you know, and start building that confidence level. So we're not always charged at the highest rate. They're our advocate at the end of the day and trying to work on the cheapest deal. And I did ask him about the roads deal, like, you know, if we need a report on roads, what's that look like? He said, of course, we'll have to discuss that, but we're gonna have to discuss some kind of threshold, like, if we assign them a project, either we assign that threshold, or we assign them a project and they come back with a project cost
Right.
to approve.
You know, some kind of an estimate, and then we check in at certain points.
He said for
See
each
where
project,
are.
they'll have a project cost.
Besides a small task driven, you know, if you're giving them like a geographical area, that might be a project cost versus a task, can you tell us about this culvert? Well, that's just gonna be charged as a single task style.
Well, and we probably, when we start getting involved in this, need to assign, I would recommend a council member to sort of be in charge of whatever that task was, to be that person that's communicating with them and keeping track and reporting back to the council.
And I think it's prudent that you just ask them for an estimate with hours and with rates. And then when you ask for the rates, that would show which ones they were using
Right.
for that. And so then we would have at least something up front to approve. And turned out there was another issue, then they would have, that they came across, they would have to come back and raise it with us. So as long as we have some way like that to ask them for each one, and I thought it was spelled out like that they had to come to us for.
Well, write it in such a way that there's a not to exceed number, right? They're approved for a
Yeah.
certain amount not to
Not to
exceed.
exceed.
And if it gets close to that, they need to come back to us. and we need to have a
But I have to look
conversation.
and see, I thought I read that in here somewhere, that there is something about that.
It's right here on page 8, invoicing terms. Invoices will be prepared monthly for approved work completed in a prior month. Each invoice will include the task number, task description, and the not to exceed task amount,
There you go.
along with itemized accounting of each engaged personnel's time, billing rate, and total amount billed. Itemized billing processes will include providing a log of each engaged personnel's task effort on a daily basis. A generalized progress report will accompany each task item shown on the invoice. Now, when I did ask him, when I told him we were gonna discuss it at the meeting, I said, hey, do you guys negotiate at all? And they gave me this very professional response that we have the most, excellent staff, and to keep the excellent staff, we have to assure them a certain salary level, so the answer was no.
Well, and I would encourage us further down the road, when let's make the first engagement be a small one. You know, let's not give them $1 million contract out of the box. I'd do something that's a little bit smaller, so we can work out the wrinkles. And
Yeah.
we'll kind of go from there.
That's reasonable.
All right, we have citizens Dale Bryant.
Pass.
Okay, and Glenn Strauss. Okay, that's all who've signed up to speak on this item.
Motion to approve the edits.
Second.
Are we comfortable on the edits?
I think on page 1 it was engineer or consultant, and then,
Well, because
What?
it does refer to consultant later on.
okay, is there any other?
I didn't have any other.
You
The
said
email,
it.
the
Oh, yeah.
email,
Add
so
the
those two
secretary.
edits. Okay, so we have a motion by Jackie, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimous.
To follow up on that, are we now obligated to fill out this conflict of interest questionnaire?
Was that us or them?
I think that was them.
That's them.
Yeah.
They're just providing it to us,
Even
saying they
though-
don't see any.